She's always been there for me, my motivator, my inspiration, my light, anything that I need. She's my smile. When you see me smile, I'm thinking about my wife. She's everything to me. She really, I can't describe the words. I'm just glad she's here with me today for this occasion. My mom, who brought me into the road. I thank you, Mom. In 1990, when I was leaving, I told my mom I was going to join the Navy. I thought the world had ended. She was like, "You going to join the Navy?" And I said, "Yes, Mom." And she's like, "When are you leaving?" I said, "It's in a couple of days." When that day came for me to leave, it was a very, very sad day. All I remember was my mom was in tears. She looked at me and she said, "There goes my son." And that's all she knew about the Navy was all the negative things, in the 90s. Had a couple of relatives that were in the Navy, and they did okay, but one of them, he actually got killed in Hurricane Hugo. His name was Gerald Thomas. We had became very close, and when Gerald passed away, I had no decision to join the Navy. The Navy wasn't really on my list. A lot of things was going on in my life at that time. I had already finished college. I was going to get my degree at Alabama A&M University, and I actually finished, but I still couldn't get a job. Even though I had my degree in engineering technology, companies still would not hire me because I didn't have any hands-on experience. And looking out for my family, my little brother, my sister, my older brother Earl here, he was already in the Army at that time. But I was looking out for my brother Sherman, my sister Rita, and my sister Connie. So when I joined the Navy, I didn't forget about my family. I remember my mom being in tears. So every time I hit a port, anytime I got a chance to buy a small souvenir, Mama told you she's got postcards from all over the world, every place I went. I got cards from my mom, not only my mom, my aunts. As many people that would write me. That was the thing to do. We didn't have computers back then either. We didn't have cell phones. So you depended on the post office. I would go to the post office, get me a book of stamps. They knew I was coming. I bought my postcards at every port, and I would sit on the mess decks when I got off work or off watch. She would walk by and says, "What are you doing?" I said, "I'm writing cards to my mom, my grandmom, and all my relatives." I said, "Good on you. A lot of people don't do that." He says, "Hey, before you leave, make sure you come by the office. I'll give you a card so you can call your mom." And that just touched my heart. We could go on the pier. We had the little mobile phones, and we could make the calls using those cards, no matter where we were at. 1991, my first deployment, I was in just across the Arctic Circle. Got my blue nose. And if you look at your program, you'll see me in my whites with my white hat. During that time, right after we had that ceremony, I got an Air Cross message saying that my dad had passed away. There was no way for me to call. Didn't have a helicopter on board. chief called me to the office. Along with the chaplain. He gave me the news, and I couldn't believe it because just before I left for deployment, I had went home, and my wife had just came out of A school. This was a couple of months before. And me and my dad had a conversation. And my dad looked me in the eye, and he said, "Son, I'm proud of you. I'm proud of what you've done with your life. I'm proud of where you're going. I wish I could have joined the military when I was young like you, but I couldn't. Because back in those days, if you didn't have a brother, you were the only male, the one that you would. And he told me how proud he was of me. And my brother Earl, who was already in the Army at that time. So that picture that you see is the last time that I saw my dad. After I got the Amcross message, the chaplain set something up on board the ship, so I was able to get a hold of my mom. And like I said, we didn't have phones at that time, so we had what we called a MARSAT. So the operator connected it somehow with my mom, and they told my mom, whenever you say something, you got to say over. So my mom probably remembers. She's talking to me like we're on CDs, and she kept saying over. But after a while, she finally got used to it. But she got a kick out of that. But on the way home, once the ship did get close to land, I was like a family. Everybody on board, they heard the news. They all chipped in. I had enough money to fly home. I had money in my pocket to go to my dad's funeral, come back to the ship and everything. I had flowers. They just overwhelmed. I'd never seen that before, and it was like my new family. When I came back to the ship, they all embraced me, and it was like I started all over again. Why am I saying that? Every command that I'd been at, every command, it felt like home. And I know you heard that saying, home is where the heart is, but every command, from the Seattle AOE 3 to New London, Connecticut, when I worked with the submarines, you love submarines. But I did get a chance to work with the submarines, and during that time, my mom, I had her to come and visit me on the submarine base. And during that time, we had 637 submarines. The Seawolf had just came out, and I was working in motor repair, and I ended up going to the 688 class, so a step above. They decided to do away with all the fish classes, the bad fish, all of those classes. The ships were fading away, so we're now on the 688 classes. But I couldn't get my mom to go on. The submarine goes in the water. It's like, you're not going to go in the water, Mom. But she just looked at it, and that was it as far as she knew. But after New London, Connecticut, I decided to go to the aircraft carrier Abraham Lincoln. And before I left New London, my LPO at the time, M1 Hubbard, he was like, we need recruiters here in the tri-state area, Philadelphia, New York, and New Jersey. And at that time, I had just left New Jersey for 5 years. Now I'm in New London, Connecticut for another 3 years. So I wanted to do something different. And he kept asking me to be a recruiter. And as quiet as I was like, I'll take my chances going back out to sea on one. He's like, you're crazy. Take it, back-to-back shore duty. Easy, you know. And I didn't fall for it. I said, I want to go to sea. So every day he would always be hammering at in my head, and I just kept doing my job. So I finally told him, you know what, I'm leaving in about 3 weeks. I got my orders to Abraham Lincoln. He just like, look at me. So I ended up in Washington State on the Abraham Lincoln. And within 1 year, I was a first class petty officer. So I got a hold of M1 at that time. It says, M1, guess what? I made first. And he congratulated me anyway, but he still told me, you should have took those honors, you know that, right? But I had a good tour on board the Abraham Lincoln. It was very rewarding. I actually did a not-long deployment for 10.5 months. Got a chance to meet President George Bush, shake his hand.